I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the Welcome to the 3-on-3 podcast. That's right, you're tuned in to the greatest basketball podcast in the universe. I'm joined with my brethren, my brothers, my compadres, my amigos, Evan, Lou, and as always, we have the Pod Mamba, who is in the background making sure that we continue to be the greatest basketball podcast in the universe. Fellas, it's great to see you guys after our All-Star break. Hope you guys are feeling refreshed, renewed, invigorated, and ready to get back to it.
You know, the one thing I'm not excited to see coming back is Evan's shenanigans. I can't believe we allowed him to get back to him doing his thing. You know what?
Well, listen, man, he's
Don't hate it when you
back
can love it, Lou.
invigorated and renewed. What'd you say?
Don't hate it when you can love it, Lou. Don't hate it when you can love it.
Look, man, there's no love without hate, all right? And I'm the number one hater because we're the number one podcast in the basketball podcast in the universe. So you know what? I got to be number one at something, all right? Something else. Okay.
I love it. All right. So let's jump right into it, guys. Injury report, man. Injury report. While, the All-Star break is usually used to recuperate, to get better, to often heal so you can take this last stretch and compete at a high level. Unfortunately, some NBA players, stars, former MVPs, potential future MVPs have succumbed to their injuries. We'll start with most notably Victor Wembanyama. He has been shut down by the medical staff because of clotting issues. Now, to me, that automatically scares me because we know what happened to Chris Bosh, right? It ultimately caused him to retire. And LaMarcus Aldridge, former Blazer, shout out to LaMarcus Aldridge, had similar issues as well.
I knew
So-
you had to slide that one.
Hey, man, listen. He's gonna go down as a Blazer legend. We're not gonna remember him for his time in Brooklyn.
Whatever you need to you know what I mean? Big up Portland. Do you think?
I'm just saying, man. I'm just throwing it out there.
We all have our teams. We get it.
Anywho, so Victor goes down. He'll be done for the remainder of the season. Now, this is definitely, especially even more disappointing since we're definitely looking to see what this team would look like with the acquisition of De'Aaron Fox and wanting to see what these young guns would really do. And of course, we had limited expectations, but yet and still, everybody wanted to see that product on the court.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Ev. If you're the Spurs, also, Pop said he's not coming back this season as well, too.
I was
He met
waiting
with
for you
the
to bring that
team,
up, bro. Like,
and
hey,
he's recovering from a stroke, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and met with the team. I think it was last week, and basically said he's not coming back. He's still working to get better. What were you saying, Lou?
sidebar, because I know you're gonna go to Ed about talking about Wemby, but like we gotta give Pop his flowers, and I'm sure this decision was not light for him. Think about all the stuff that he went through to even get to this point. You know what I mean? Obviously, his age, losing his wife, and so on and so forth, and him continuously coming back as a coach. I'm sure, you know what I mean, he would, want to retire because he can't go in any longer. And I think that's just what has happened at this point, because I'm sure he would love to continue to coach. Pop has given us so many quotables as a coach, and them, the media asking him questions. The isosceles triangle, probably.
Are you announcing
That's
his
actually-
retirement?
I mean, look, bro. Like, let's be real. He's not
I,
coming back. But
I didn't
done.
think he announces. How are you? How are you? I know we're the number one basketball podcast in the universe, right? We are. But how are
I
you
know I'm
gonna
not
go ahead
Shams.
and
I know I'm not
retire the
Shams.
man before he even
Look,
said it, man?
I know I'm not Shams. I know. Me. I know I don't have the crackberry of Woj. But like, look, let's be real. I don't think the dear brother Pop coming back after this, man. He's recovering. My man is pushing 80.
What that
He's
mean?
not coming.
Got, got
He's
love
not
of the
coming
game.
back.
He might have 10 solid years left.
My G
But
in the
I
office.
mean,
In the office, not on that sideline.
so I
Look,
mean, yeah,
man,
that
I
is
think
kind of
Wemby kind of renewed his enthusiasm, but let's be real, man. Pop was already on his last leg. I do not see him
He
coming
was on
back
his
from this.
last
As
leg.
I do not see
Oh
him coming back. Yo, I do not see him
wow,
coming back as the head
that's a
coach of the San
stretch.
Antonio Spurs.
I think that's a
Bruh,
stretch. I'm
okay.
not gonna sit here and say Pop was on his last leg before this stroke.
Just
I
rent
don't
the
think so.
memoriam already, Lou. Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
for real, this dude is out here just sending him out to pasture. Oh, Yeller over here just walking him with.
All right. Hey, Greg had a
Here's my
great
thing:
run.
we're not saying it's not gonna happen, Lou. But I also feel like there's a certain level of respect for guys like him, where it's like you gotta let him say that. You get what I'm saying? Like
How
it's like you.
do
No, I agree. I
I
agree.
say
I agree.
goodbye?
I'm just saying.
Like I don't. Okay, look, San Antonio would never be like, "Hey, they're never gonna fire Pop." They probably wouldn't even push him to retirement. They may ask him like, "Hey, how do you feel about?"
Listen, man.
And
Pops
if
is
we,
like
look, man,
Pops is
Pop,
Kobe and Michael Jordan. Okay, you don't tell them to retire; they tell you.
and I
That-
think Pop is saying, "I'm tired." I may not. He's not retired yet, but Pop is tired. Our 76-year-old brother, who's had an immaculate career as a coach, I oftentimes say he's like the Bill Belichick of basketball. There's nothing for him to prove. He does it because he love it. He loves it, and it keeps him going. But there comes a point in time where you're like, you know what? I may have to just go sit down and not on the sideline. If he ends up somewhere in the booth, somewhere, like they love to give the coaches somewhere a cool title as part of the organization, president of this, that, and the third.
All right, before
But
we
in terms
get
of
too
actively
sidetracked,
coaching,
let's
I was
let
just like,
Dev
yo,
jump
I
in.
don't want to hear this no more. I was just like,
Nah,
bro, I don't want to go with you. That was
I
cool. I
need.
was just like, he is not retired yet. Don't want to hear it, Lou, but cool.
It's
Let's
not
see. Let's
that.
see.
It's not that. I just want Ev to weigh in. That's it. That's all I was trying to get to. Go ahead, weigh
My
in. Ev.
bad. My bad.
no.
My
I
bad.
was gonna see. I was gonna see how far I cooked. That's all. I was gonna let the dish settle and warm
It's
and get
good.
served.
It's
It's good.
Oscar season.
Uh,
I wish I had my playoff music, and I don't because we're not using DMX anymore.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Go
you
ahead.
slipping, you slipping on your
Yo,
toes,
the
Pop,
fact that
man.
Christian want to use that music on me for all the times where you know what, Christian?
Listen, man, my points juicy morsels. You gotta let those things go. But as far I will say to what Lou's saying, when you hear stroke at that age, yeah, you get concerned about, what's the realisticness of a comeback to the grind of coaching from that. As far as the Wemby news, right after we break for 2 weeks and coming off the All Star game when he played, you hear about an injury like that, and yeah, it goes to all the names that you pointed out, whether it's the Chris Boshes or the LaMarcus Aldridges. The thing about Wemby is you are always concerned with a size based injury for him, right? Primarily like something to his legs or to his frame, like you've seen with Chet Holmgren. But for it to be the type of blood clot in the shoulder area on his right side, where he does a lot of damage blocking shots and etc. That's where you get concerned about. Hopefully, this not being longer than a season type deal. You're hoping that the move is just extra precautionary. Because let's face it, the Spurs were on the outside looking in of the playoff of the play-in picture. You definitely, if you could, want them to get that playoff experience, but there's a chance they may not even make it this year. So be extra cautious with your generational talent that you hope carries your team for the next 15 to 20 years. Let them get right. Still only like 20 years old. Figure this out. Get right. Hopefully that he can get back to full health and be back next year. And you still have the Aaron Fox that you've traded. You're looking to extend. You still have the nucleus of young players. So I don't think it changes a lot of your scope for the off season. Your primary goal is just get a win, be healthy.
Facts. Before we go to Lou real quick, also Hugh B. Brown retired. Since we want to talk about people who retired, 91 years old, Hugh B. Brown retired. So there's that. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I'm gonna say
I
something. I'm jumping real quick because
Hubie,
Hans doesn't like the way Hubie
I
Brown
hate
commentates. All right. Let me
hate
tell you something.
hate
I've learned a lot of basketball from listening to Hubie
hate.
Brown for all these years. So shout out to Hubie Brown for being just an excellent artifact of
Yeah, artifact
basketball
is right.
history. And basketball
Artifact is
history.
right. Artifact is
yeah,
correct.
no, but realistically, like,
Poignant.
Hubie Brown has been somebody who's been able to actually commentating and breaking down the game aren't always synonymous. You know what I mean? So I can understand where Hans is coming from, but in terms of just knowledgeable of the game and being able to break it down, being a coach, obviously he was a great coach for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. He has a pedigree. 96. Now, some people may say, "Hey, it
91.
may have taken 91." Sorry, you because I'm thinking about Pop, who's been 76. But it's like, you may had it been maybe 10 or 15 years overdue, maybe. But well, to
Listen
Hans,
here.
as soon as
God,
he started commentating, he should have retired. So
listen here. You got a 6'5" player who's a good defensively, can take the
Love it,
jump
man. I
shot.
love it. I
And when
love it.
he goes in, I'm like, Hubie,
yo,
we're on to two more
Hans,
plays after
Hans,
this.
Hans hates
You
this
see
because
the
he's like,
trap.
bro, like they already came out of the timeout. There was a replay.
Now
But
LeBron's
Like,
gonna come down. The trap's
halftime,
gonna be set.
like that was in the second quarter. It's past halftime. Like, what are we
but to
talking about?
Hubie's credit though, if you're new to the game, and I'm thinking of those who immigrated, right? So I think about my father who would have appreciated a Hubie Brown for American football, right? He gives you so much context that you actually learn the game
Yeah,
if you're not familiar with it. So I definitely would give credit to Hubie, like Ev says. Like he gives you nuggets that you weren't looking for. He's a teacher at heart. You ever see somebody who's just a
Yeah.
teacher? He's a
that nah,
teacher
not if
at heart.
we gonna put past teacher because the way he be talking, the pontification, he's a professor for sure.
Professor.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm
And
gonna give you this
Professor.
lecture.
genuine love for the game. And that's
Nah, yeah,
Facts.
for sure. For sure. I
Facts.
think
Facts.
some of my favorite moments is like how he would talk about Iverson. Like when he would just talk about like Iverson as a player and how you break it. Yo,
Mhm.
that's probably my favorite moments in terms of like how of Huey in terms of like I said, breaking down the game. But so Hans doesn't yell at me to focus back on Wemby.
You gonna
I
retire him
think
too?
one of the
Wimby needs to call this
yo,
quits.
hey, what's up with you,
Lou
guys?
said, "Look,
Hey,
man, blood clots. You're French. Your diet's a little off.
he's like blood
You're not drinking
clots,
enough
bumper
wine.
clot.
Wine's actually
What
supposed
was
to
it?
loosen you up. So,
You funny as
he's
How
what was it?
retiring
do
him.
Blood clots,
I
bumper
say
clots.
goodbye?
Get him out of here. Yo, you know what? Yeah,
Go ahead, Lou. My bad.
I'm fed up. Yeah, I'm fed up with you, man. You just
Go
like
ahead, go ahead.
nah, but jokes aside, I think one of the things for me that's most disappointing in this, and not disappointing in the way that's like I'm disappointed in Wemby. Like I think it's unfortunate. Like I would have tried to find a way to let him get I don't care if we deactivate him or put him inactive after 19 games. I don't care if he just comes in to do a tip off and we have him on the bench for 19 games because he's not going to be able to hit the minimum amount of games to win Defensive Player of the Year. And
That's
clearly,
true.
he's been the front runner for that. And I think it's a shame because I'm sure in his mind he's like, yeah, at minimum, this is something I'm working towards. I know I'm in a conversation. Plus, this is who I want to be in the league. Like I want to be a top player and being a top defensive player in the league and definitely being the front runner for that recognition this year. It's unfortunate he hasn't been able to reach those minimum gains for him to be able to have that as an accolade on his jacket in his second year, right? So only being able to play 46 games. So being 19 games out of that is trash. And look, what it looks like Christian's favorite player, Triple J is probably going to work, get it right now. So, but that, if anything, that's probably like one of the things I'm most disheartened to see for Wemby. Obviously, not being able to play the rest of the season because of this type of medical condition, which is very serious. Which is more than likely he will probably end up getting surgery to be able to help rectify it. But hopefully, this doesn't keep him from having a long and prosperous career.
Definitely 100%. And thank you for bringing that part of it up as well too. I was going to say that before we move on to the next one, but yeah, I think he deserves that accolade. It's going to be one of those things where when your peers know, just like when everybody knew that Kobe should have got that MVP and not Steve Nash, like everybody knew. It's like,
Or like
just like
Carmelo should have won Rookie of the Year.
oh, that's a tough one. Or when
No
Kendrick should
disagreements
have
here.
won that Grammy instead of Macklemore. Like we all know, it's just like
Oh yeah,
kid,
Evan agree with me on that on that Mello.
Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely.
Okay,
you're
cool.
talking. You're
This
preaching to
this
the choir. You're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir.
But it's going to bring up an interesting topic going forward. They put in that restriction on games played to because of all the folks that were sitting out and a lot of it being quote unquote voluntarily in load management.
you talking about
You
players
got,
such as Kawhi and LeBron?
I mean, listen, throw the names out that you throw out. But when you get to the point where like legitimate injuries, but to what y'all said, we see the impact of who is, deserving of these accolades, but legitimate injuries are drawing them close. 19 games, yeah, that's a little tough, right? 46 games, that's only, five more than half the season. But there are situations where there's gonna be gray areas where it's like, okay, do we follow the letter of the law or do we go, all right, does this fall within what the essence of the law was? Nah, this isn't that situation. We should reward that person. I think that conversation will grow only more and more as the years progress and we have more situations like this.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like, for me, look what you created, and I'm not even really necessarily looking at all the players. This is where I'll give credit to Zion. Zion sometimes he has to follow his employer, right? If the Pelicans say sit, what's he gonna do? That's his employer, that's his boss. So
Yeah.
it's one of those situations where look what you did, you ruined it for somebody in this situation
Yeah.
because you didn't take or value getting on this court, coming to work every day, et cetera, et cetera. You guys know in the real life when they limit or change the rules around PTO, right? Because somebody abuses it and things of that nature. So definitely sad to see. And I agree. I hope that maybe moving forward there'll be exceptions made for situations like Wemby because I think we're all in agreement here that he deserves that. He's earned it. He's put into work. He was putting his up historic numbers in terms of blocks per game. I don't think that anybody would be upset if they, did that. But then, you're gonna have those people like, well, how do we work around that, right? So,
Yeah.
but hopefully later on. But let's move on to one more, guys, before we get on to our second segment. We do have the Sixers pulled the plug on Joel Embiid. Even though he kind of foreshadowed it at an interview, I think last week or so, they pulled the plug. I'm sorry, on Joel Embiid and set him out for the season. He's still struggling with that knee. Um, I'll say this, and then I'll leave it to you guys. I'll throw it back to you, Ev. At what point do you, I guess, learn from these great players in the past who have struggled with injury? If you know you're struggling, pushing through, right? I don't think has ever benefited, at least not pushing through a season. I can see if you're hurt in a playoff series and you push through a playoff series, right? Or you're hurt in the finals or you push through a finals. But pushing through a season when injured, I don't think has ever worked to a benefit of a player, especially one you call your franchise player. We all have watched the Olympics. We all saw that he was not looking right in the Olympics. He wasn't even playing a high number of minutes in the Olympics. He was just there just to get his Olympic gold, right? And just to say he did it and to play for Team USA. You, I feel like, as a player, should be able to speak up sooner and call it. I know the fan base, it's Philly, right? They're a proud fan base. They're up there with New York and LA as being really, hard on their players and setting up high expectations, right? But bro, if this could potentially hurt your career down the road, which means your availability down the road, you could have shut it down the summer and possibly been working your way back at this point, right? Going through rehab and things of that nature. That's my issue with this. Why are you waiting so long, possibly causing even more damage to your knee that's already not right? And basically putting in danger this asset that you are to this Philadelphia fan base. That's my issue with this, man. Like, why so late? Why so late?
Well, I think part of the issue is, well, one, like you said, he is the face of the franchise. Two, the ink it wasn't even dry yet on the extension. What, 3 years, $192 million that he signed over the summer. So, and three, he's a basketball player. I mean, not to tell our business, but so somebody caught a non-contact injury when we got together in November to play. Before the first game started, and what we do, we played 5 more games because when you want to ball, you want a ball, and there was no money on the line there, right?
This guy,
So, I didn't say the names. Calm down, but the point still stands. I mean, when you have, and we're gonna have some some face of the league and face of the team conversation later, perhaps. But when you're the guy, the white hat, as my boy Mello calls it. When you the one selling tickets and your face is on the billboard and you just signed the contract, and the pressure the last few years is, it's been everybody else's fault but yours, and you want to go out there and prove that, you the answer, not the question. I mean, all of those pressures lead up to you stepping out on that court. I don't think it's easy to just say at the beginning of the season, all right, we're just going to throw this one away and just start over next year. We just signed Paul George in part because with him, myself, and Tyrese Maxey, we believe we have a contender, right? It's hard to say, okay, I'm just not gonna play, especially when it's clear now to this point that they don't know what the issue has been because they're exploring all these different options. And I think that's the question that we've had all season. What
Mm,
is it exactly that's wrong with Joel Embiid, right? And we've still yet to receive an answer. And so when we get the news that we've getting, this past week that they're exploring all kind of these radical different options, that tells me they still don't definitively know what the problem is and how to address it, which is why it seems like they've just gone from a game to game and week to week type of pain management approach to it because they didn't have the answer.
I mean, I hear what you
clearly,
mean.
clearly they don't have the answer, man. Lou, if you're in the Sixers front office, what's your next step, man? What you doing next?
Look, I mean, we can talk about some of the stuff that they're already doing, right? We know big man injuries have always been the end of big men's careers. We talked about Wemby not too long ago. Um, we can look at a la Yao Ming. Who would think a big toe would be something that would have you retire, right? That'd be something that's such a lingering injury that would, in essence, end your career. And then for it to be something with Joel Embiid, with it being his knee, that's your for this game. Your knee is an issue, and they still can't figure out. Even for us, we got Alonzo a new meniscus. All right, to get him back on the court. So for Joel, for
But
them
how long
at
did it
this
take
point,
that though?
but I'm saying, remember, how many games did Joel even play his first season? Did he even play? Joel didn't even play his first season.
That was his foot though. That wasn't his knee. But don't let me derail you. Keep going. Keep going.
No, I'm saying in terms of like having the lower extremity issues,
Mhm.
right? At the end of the day, for this game, if you don't have your legs, we can name a bunch of players. Sorry, Hans, but like even Brandon Roy. Like if you do not have your legs, you're done. So obviously they
Could
wanted
have
to be able
been.
to
What
keep.
could have been. My bad.
Come on, man.
My bad. Go ahead.
They wanted. They obviously the Sixers. They talk about the process. Embiid has been their franchise player basically since he got there. They tried to bring other key pieces that would have been franchise players around him with the Ben Simmons, with I'm blanking on homie name, man. My man's that was the point guard that's ended
Markel
up in
Fultz.
Orlando. Markel
Markel
Fultz
Fultz.
being a number one pick. Like you had all these number one pick guys that did not pan out. So you're holding on to Embiid because of what he's been able to produce on the court. Because when he's there, when he's doing it, and he's effective, bro, you guys look great. Uh, but at the end of the day, man, if he can't be on the floor, it doesn't matter. So talking about being in the front office, like look at what they're exploring. They're like, well, we're getting outside medical counsel. If it's something that, hey, this is that bad, it's irreparable, we're talking about a medical retirement type situation, and having a medical type of medical retirement situation would then be able to void his contract, where now they have funds available where they can now explore other options. So it's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal. I know we've talked about it in our group chat over a period of time, saying like how much time he has left, right? And I think of last season, I was like, man, he has maybe 2 years. You know what I mean? At best, that's and it's probably not even a healthy 2 years. And for it to be what it is right now, it's kind of like manifesting into that. It's just unfortunate because Embiid, like I said, when he's been on the floor, he's been a great player. Obviously, man, he's won MVP. He has been one of the best bigs we've seen in the league ever, really, and what he's been able to do. But yeah, availability is one of your best assets, and that's something that he's been lacking. And now, if this is a situation where his knee is no longer good, as a Sixers man, as a front office, yeah, I'm starting to think about how do we move on. We have guys like Maxi that we may be able to start building around. Let's start thinking about the drafts coming up and players that we can start to, start our process all over again. And see how
Trust the
we
process.
can make that work. Man, listen,
Well, they definitely
that
do have a
process,
lot of
ongoing process.
they do have a lot of things to consider. I'll say about this. At the end of the day, Ev has mentioned this a ton before. Sometimes you are what you are. And if he's going to be a player that's just plagued by injuries, then you need to see him for what he is and start making moves like that. If you're still going to leverage the potentiality of the MVP like season he had as that being the constant, Godspeed to Sixers. All right, y'all. Before we move to the next topic, injury report: Kyrie was helped off the court.
That's
Banged
unfortunate.
knees and hyperextended his knee is what it looks like. We'll be looking to see what the official injury report says about Kyrie. Hopefully, it's nothing that's season ending, and hopefully he'll be back on the
They
court
can't catch
soon.
a
But
break, man. Lou, you forgot to mention Greg Oden about first pick too.
I didn't want to go there. I said Brandon Roy. I left it at that. I didn't want to go to
Should
Greg
we?
Oden.
Can we move on? Are we gonna move on, or are we
What I
just
should
gonna
have addressed is the fact that
sit
Evan was
here?
talking about, like, are you the answer whether to the question? There's only been one answer in
Are
the
we?
league, especially in Philadelphia, and it's Allen Iverson. Please don't ever bring up anybody
All
else in
right,
that
let's
conversation.
move on. Let's move on. All right, guys. Our next segment: no frauds or fraud alert. So, speaking of frauds, let's talk about these LA Lakers. All right, so let's talk about these LA Lakers. I'm gonna jump right into it. Let's get spicy and let's get right into it. These LA Lakers are currently number 2 in the West. They're on a 6-game winning streak.
LA Fakers was right there for you.
Everybody
LA Fakers was right there for you. Just saying.
Everybody is infatuated with the Lakers and how they're winning basketball games right now, even though really only had like 2 noticeable wins. But whatever. We'll
Thank
give
you,
it
thank you, Hans.
we'll
Thank you,
give it to
Hans.
you guys right there. Are you guys buying into this new breath of fresh air in Los Angeles, this Luka magic that people are waxing and waning about? Or is it just
Puka
a matter of
Luka.
time before the other shoe drops and the Lakers shows who they really are, which is playing? So, Ev, I know you enjoy watching the Lakers. Is this who they really are right here? Or is this the potential of what's to come?
I think this is the honeymoon phase of the Luka and LeBron relationship, but I still stand on the fact that they traded for the fourth or fifth best player in the league, so their floor is raised by that. Now, are they a team that's going to be top 5 defensively the rest of the season and into the playoffs? I don't necessarily see that. They've got injuries starting to pile up now. I think Rui walked off over the weekend. Austin Reeves walked off the next game. I don't think those are injuries that are going to take them too much time away, but still, they're already a thin team to begin with.
Luka
They're
doesn't play defense.
let's stay off of Luca right now. All right, I've got the floor, but they're a small team. They're transitioning into a small ball type of offense. Vanderbilt and Finney Smith have been huge for them defensively over the last few weeks, and so I I hate to disappoint my brethren in the bottom window, but I don't think the play in Poppy moniker will stand for this year. I think they're firmly a top 4 team. Well, I'll say top 5 team. Top 5 team. Firmly
Keep
a
going.
top 5
You
team.
keep going down. Go ahead. It's okay.
When you
It
look at
hit
the
you.
standings,
It
Oh,
hit
when
you.
you
You were
look at
like
the
top 4.
yo,
Wait.
it's
Let
cool.
me
It's
go
cool.
top.
Let
Hold
no,
on.
no,
Let me
no,
go
no,
think
no.
top.
It's
I
cool.
think I
Let
think top
Evan
4.
yap. He
I
has the
think top
floor, as
4.
he told me. Go ahead and yap.
Listen, man. Listen, we still recovering from your pop eulogy earlier. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up. Um, but yeah, no, they're top 14. Houston's in free fall, so they're a top 14
Talk to him,
going
Ev.
into the
Talk to him,
playoffs.
Ev.
Just by looking at the standings, I mean they're 6 games in front. They're 6 games in front of the 6th place team. Nobody's catching them
Who's the sixth
at
place
worst.
team, Ev? Who's the sixth place team?
As of right now, it's the Golden State Warriors. It was LA
Ooh.
Clippers. It was LA Clippers who they beat twice in a row this past weekend. So
Barely,
just
barely.
wins and
You
wins.
sound like Marcellus Wiley barely beating the Clippers.
They
You're
are.
right, right?
They're a
Just
top
like you
14
guys.
going into the playoffs. Now that I do believe that size will catch up to them, or that lack of size will catch up to them in the playoffs. But that home court in the first round, they're gonna have it. Top 14, not having to deal with the play in for once. They're playing MVPs, but they're not gonna be there this year.
Ev, are
So
they gonna beat your Knicks
They already
they're
March
not
did.
gonna
6th?
see my
They
Knicks.
already
They're not
did.
gonna see my
They already
Knicks.
beat him.
Okay.
All right. Are they gonna
I'm
beat the
talking about them.
Boston Celtics?
They already beat him.
Hey,
They're,
are they gonna do that?
They already beat
Man,
him.
listen,
Just like
man.
just like they beat the Charlotte Hornets. All right.
All right, here we go.
Listen,
So now they
man.
want to pick and choose. One a
Listen,
bad
man.
loss
Do you
against a
mean pick
bad
and
team,
choose?
but all the wins against the good teams that don't matter, right? Number
So
one,
listen,
no,
all
number
I'm
one defense in the NBA for the last 15
teams.
games. But,
Oh, Jesus. For the last 2 games, this is how you gotta go back, bro.
since AG went down,
You're right.
they're the number
What
they're the
what
number one defense in NBA, which blows my mind
So
because
AD was the problem.
listen,
That's what you say. AD was the problem.
listen.
Just saying,
you got,
man.
you
What
got
was
it.
what was my gripe? What was my gripe with the defensive effort with the Lakers earlier in the season? Lou knows. What was my gripe? Is that what you're saying?
AD was the only
Well,
one
one of the
playing
biggest
defense.
things
Yes.
is because you weren't paying Vanderbilt. That was one of your
Yes,
biggest.
that's
gripes.
one. But my biggest gripe was LeBron was not playing defense.
Listen,
All of a
I will say
sudden, all of a
this.
sudden, he started playing defense. I'm just saying.
You know why? Because Luka's taking a lot
Thank
of
you.
burden off of LeBron.
That's a fact.
He's taking,
That's a fact.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't believe LeBron years ago when he said, this is AD's team, right? We're going to focus on AD. We're going to run through AD. This is AD's team. But when you look at the court, it's LeBron's team still. I actually see him now like deferring to Luka, like, you got it. Like, handle it, my guy. I'll just be here at the end. Like, I'll be here to close this game out. I got you. You're going to get tired because I know because you're out of shape. But I got you. I'm here for you at the end. Just, you got it. Like, I actually see LeBron deferring, and I think it's allowing LeBron to coast more so he can focus on other areas. So I do see that as a positive for you guys, 100%. I will
And
say that. I think
yeah, don't
that
call
he
me a hater.
has unlocked, I don't want to say unlocked, but given LeBron a lot more opportunities to focus his energy elsewhere where the Lakers need help. Whereas with the previous lineup, he was constrained a lot more.
AD's
offensively.
last game with the Lakers, he dropped 40 and 23. So I mean, like he could have been. It's just the fact that LeBron didn't let him.
But it's still the how
That's a
those
LeBron
points
issue.
are created and generated. LeBron with the ball in his hand at his age extracts a lot of energy. When you now have a primary ball handler that is at or above the level of where LeBron is at this point, it just allows him, like you said, to fill in the blank of all the other things that he can do on the court. I mean, it's impressive to see. I won't go long on it, but it's impressive to see. But
Ball-
that's the difference in the AD 40-point game and Luka being able to lead the team in time of possession. That's just what the difference is.
Ball handler, as in like setting the offense and passing to teammates and running the offense and stuff like that.
The
or-
offense is going to get ran through Luka.
Oh, like D'Lo.
It's gonna get
D'Lo
ran.
could have done it. God damn it.
And this is where
I
I'm
knew
going to
he was
go with
coming.
it. Because exactly, it could have gone through D'Lo, but now, Hans, I feel you. Yes, it takes a burden off of LeBron, but it also gives LeBron a way out. If it doesn't work, LeBron isn't going to get blamed.
I mean, I feel like LeBron got his way out anyway, though, because this trade went behind his back. So he got his way out. He
Allegedly.
didn't need that. But I'm just looking at the way he's never done it this way with Kyrie, which we think is a great ball handler and one who's capable
Nah, I
of
mean,
running an offense.
yeah.
I think the trust, like Ev said, with Luka's level of play, the trust that he has in Luka to make those decisions. Because Luka's what? He's another version of
Nah,
LeBron. He
I'm
sees
about to say it's
places on the
completely
court
different though, bro.
and
Him and
creating.
Kyrie, because Luka has been the franchise. He came in as a franchise guy. He came in as somebody that was already lauded while he was overseas. He already came in as somebody who was supposed to be the next coming of it. He did what he did in Dallas. That's supposed to be. I mean, got to the finals and so on. So
Yeah,
there's
he's
no
better
way
than
that
Kyrie. We get that. He's a better leader
Okay,
than Kyrie. Yeah.
not just about a leader in terms of like, Luka's another. He's another star. He's a young star that is going to be in the league for the next 15 years. I'm leaving it at whatever it is. But the point is, in terms of the difference is, like, I don't believe there can be a comparison between Kyrie and Luka, because Kyrie came into a team that was LeBron's team. Luka's coming in as, hey, I had my own team. I was already supposed to be the guy. I didn't need a LeBron, right? That was the whole conversation. Like, I didn't need a LeBron. I was supposed to be able to do this on my own. When LeBron is out, like, yeah, I'm here. So now that you've put them two together, the trade was already clear of we're looking towards the future. It's going to be cool to have you guys play together, But Luka, we're already preparing LeBron. This is where the keys are going.
I
So figure it out.
disagree. I disagree in the sense of this. You can compare it in the sense of Luca gives LeBron more breaks. He takes more off of LeBron offensively than Kyrie ever did. Ever.
But Kyrie and Luka are
Ever.
not the same player. They're not the same player.
Nobody's disagreeing with that, Lou. I can still
But that's what I'm
compare the
saying.
night.
Like
It's another star. That's what I'm arguing. Like AD's another star. AD did not take the burden off of LeBron like he needed to. Kyrie's another star. Kyrie did not take the burden off LeBron like Luka. We're
AD not
comparing
taking
stars.
the what's it called the burden off of LeBron because he was never given the opportunity to be the number one. For one, for two, like it was never schematically meant for AD to be the number one. No matter even how much they talked about it. Same
Right.
thing with
So
Kyrie.
what we're
Kyrie was never
saying,
number one. Luka came in. Luka was already number one, and he came into the
it's
Lakers
not.
as number one.
You're missing
It's
that
not
because
the same.
AD was the number one. He led the Pelicans. What we're saying is
I'm saying
my
the difference
lens is
is Luka
saying
came into the Lakers as number one. AD did not come
no,
into the Lakers as number
no.
one.
What I'm saying is,
Luka is
Lou,
the
as
number
much
one
as
for
you
the
want to
Lakers.
believe it, Lou, as much as you want to believe it, LeBron has a say so. If he doesn't want Luka to be number one right now, he can say that. What I'm saying is LeBron has to relent. He has to give the
No,
keys.
he
He has
can't.
to do that. Like
Luka's
he
the
can't.
captain
Like
now.
LeBron could literally be that guy and hold the ball and say, "I'm gonna run this." Yeah, I know you're the number one and coming and do that. But to me, it's telling that LeBron James, who doesn't have a history of doing that, is willing to relinquish that. Meaning, like Ev is saying, Luka's cachet is that high to where LeBron relinquishes. Everybody you've named, Lou, he has not relinquished that. No matter
I
how
don't think
many,
that
because what
is
you're
just
telling me is
willing that you think it is with LeBron. It's not that. LeBron knows he has to.
that's not true.
Period.
That's not true.
Okay.
But it's we can agree, we can disagree right there, but that's not true.
Agree. Like,
Because
yeah,
if you
no,
look at the stats of LeBron,
sure.
he's putting up numbers just like F put in the chat. He's putting up MVP like numbers. So LeBron doesn't have to do anything. He could take over and still say, "I'm still the man, and I'm still doing this." Even at his 40-year-old age, he can outplay Luka in certain parts of the game. So like he's willingly doing that. To me, that's telling. That's all I'm saying. To me, that's telling.
So
That's telling.
So let me
The
so let me ask
opportunity,
y'all this. Let me ask y'all this. For to identify the fraud here in this situation. The Lakers, number 2 in the West right now as of today. Lou, where do you think they end up when in the playoffs when it's all said and done? What do you think they end the season the season as?
as I've always said before, playing at best.
Hans, where do you think they end up at?
Oh,
Not just seeding, but what do you think their season ends as?
their season or
Like
their
the full
s-
season, not just the regular season. Like
oh, okay, not just the regular season. Oh
yeah,
yeah, okay, cool. They get knocked out the first round.
first round.
I think I think they make the playoffs. I think they definitely make the playoffs.
How do I
I,
mute this man? How do I mute him?
I
Hold
think,
on. So let
but I
me.
think
So
they get knocked off the first round. But I do want to get to the other teams, y'all.
yeah,
So we could talk about it real quick. So sorry for pontificating on the Lakers. You know, I'm a number one president of the Laker hater club.
y'all
I'm
sure
here
know how to
for it.
stay on hate for a while, but keep
Listen,
going.
I'm all about it. I got a lot of hate in my heart. The Lord's still working on me. He has time.
Staying on
So
that.
This is
listen,
what LeBron was talking about,
Hans
by
and
the
I,
way. This is what
Hans and I
LeBron
are
was talking
in the
about.
same support group.
This is what
he
LeBron was
was.
talking about.
Let's talk about one more team, and then we're gonna go on to LeBron's face of the league comments and things like that. Let's talk about the Knicks, man. I think we do need to talk about the Knicks. At the end of the day, they're one of the top teams in the East, just like the Lakers are. They unfortunately have had a couple bad games against other top teams, so reporters are starting to question, are the Knicks just a really good regular season team and may not have what it takes to go all the way? I don't know. All I know is right now they're what, 0-6, Ev, against top teams.
0-7 against the
Oh,
Celtics, Cavs, and Thunder.
got you. So, um, Ev, I'll start with you, man. Hey yo, what's good, son? Like,
Well, as I've said often, and as you've pointed out, that I say often, you are what you are. And right now, this team is a team that struggles uh, doesn't even compete for the most part against the most elite competition in the league. Now, with that said, undefeated against the number 2 and number 3 teams, well, who were the 2 and 3 teams in the West. Now that the Lakers are up there, I can't even say that. So the challenges with this team were coming in. We knew that defensively we'd be weak at point guard, weak at center, as long as Cat was starting at center. But the assumption was that that would be made up for by an exceptional wing defense, and that defense just has not been there. The cohesiveness of OG, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges has not led to a defensive identity that would make a Tibbs team proud. And so when we're up against the best teams, we we give up way too many points. I mean, we getting blown out, and we also have struggled against teams that we should be winning decisive games against. Now we win those games. Our clutch stats look tremendous. Jalen Brunson, one of the best clutch scorers in the league, but when it's coming against teams like the Portland Trailblazers, not Portland, I'm sorry, the Chicago Bulls,
I mean, listen,
the
man, you want to throw us
Miami
out there?
Heat,
Listen,
my
man,
bad,
we've
my
been
bad.
winning.
Team
We've been winning.
teams that we should be winning against without issue, right? Close games against the Washington Wizards. Like, we are not playing defense at the level of a team that is going to go far in the playoffs. And that's concerning right now, for we put all our eggs in this roster's basket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've been saying it for months. Mitchell Robinson's coming back. Mitchell Robinson's coming
But I
back.
asked that question.
We treating this like he's Bill Russell coming back. Uh,
But I
what
asked
we're
how you feel about
hopeful.
him being back.
I
He's
mean,
Elgin Baylor walking through that door, man.
I'm just
He's
saying. I mean,
Patrick Ewing.
multiple ankle
Clearly,
surgeries. Uh, I I don't think that he's just gonna come back and be the defensive force that we're banking on. But what it will do, if he gets ramped up by playoff time, he's played about 12 minutes and 13 minutes his first 2 games back. If he's ramped up by playoff time, that allows us to move Cat to the 4, Mitch to the 5, bring one of either probably Hard off the bench from a 6-man role, kind of stagnate, kind of mix up the lineup a little bit, so we have multiple identities to give Tibbs some flexibility that maybe could benefit us in the playoffs. But right now, yeah, definitely concerning what we've been seeing.
Got you, Lou. What you feeling about the Knicks, man? They legit or frauds?
I mean, look, I haven't really kind of just put it exactly the way I was thinking about it. You are who you are. One of my biggest questions, you know what I mean, he touched on it. It's like, okay, Mitchell Robinson being back in the lineup, does it move the needle? Because that is one of the biggest pieces in terms of what you guys were looking at. You lose a guy like Hartenstein, so you don't have the same type of flexibility in your lineup. Does Mitchell Robinson come in and do what you need, especially from a defensive perspective, when you're playing against these top teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers? You're playing against Evan Mobley. You're playing against, against Jerry. Like, you're then playing against Al Horford, like against Porzingis. Do you have somebody that, in tandem with Cat, can compete when you come to talk about from a front court perspective? It's only been 2 games, so I'm curious to see how that will progress. But that's really one of the biggest Achilles heels for the Knicks right now when you're talking about playing against these top teams. All right, cool. Like, what do you have for a Chet? You know what I mean, with him and Hartenstein on the floor together. The Knicks, man, it's tough for them right now. Them getting blown out is something that I didn't have on my bingo card. You know what I mean, so frauds. Look, I'll put it like this, man. I don't know if I would necessarily say they're fraudulent, because I don't want to agree with Draymond and him saying that, their last run was going to be their best run they'll have for the next 20 years. But I think they're better than what the Lakers will end up being. So I think that, they'll end up being like a mid-table team. But they're definitely going to have to think about what their roster structure construction is going to be, because bringing in Mikal Bridges isn't what they thought. The payoff that they thought it was going to be isn't that, right? From his offensive production and also from a defensive perspective. So based on how the Knicks are structured now, I don't know, man. Is this a championship contending team? No, I don't see it.
I
But
think,
I can see at least see them making it to the second round.
yeah, I don't know if they're frauds. I think they're just who they are right now, and I don't think they're fully healthy as well too. So they do have some nagging injuries as well, and Tibbs doesn't allow you to rest to recover from that.
Rest?
Yeah,
Rest? What is that?
you're either injured or you're
Look,
healthy.
things that
So,
are in Tibbs vocabulary. Rest.
It's the way
Sleep.
Kobe saw it.
Pause.
I know.
Relax.
All right,
None of
y'all.
these
Let's move
things.
on. Let's move on to the next and last segment, y'all. The face of the league has been a conversation on the interwebs and social medias throughout this past week or so. This really started, at least it came on my radar with Tyson Chandler when he was on a podcast and essentially said, "Why would you want to be the face of the league when all you do gets hated on? You get compared to the previous era." Your accolades get downed on, and basically speaking up for LeBron. And then Anthony Edwards kind of alluded and said they don't want to be the face of the league, kind of downing it and making it look like it's not a position where you want to be as well too. And then you have LeBron stating further comments when he was interviewed after one of those illustrious Laker wins, essentially saying that, who really wants it when you have guys out there who are just talking ish about you all the time, and then also patting himself on the back and saying, well, me, I took it in stride and did what I had to do because I knew what I wanted to do. But yet, and still, it's a difficult situation to be in. It's not as pleasant as everybody really says that it is. And then I also remember too, though, that this conversation just evolved into so many different things, right? You have Stephen A kind of saying as well too that a non-American can't be the face of the league, right? And then what it means. And I know we've had our own conversations about it as well too. I'll say this, and then I'll let it go to you, Ev, so you can kind of talk about it as well too. I think when it comes to being the face of the league, you don't get to choose it. The league chooses you. And you either carry that torch or you drop the torch. And that's just really what it is. I don't think it's something that, the league goes around and asks you to participate in, to be in. Of course, as you play better, certain opportunities and doors may be open to you, right? But it's up to you to take that mantle and continue to go with it. I think it chooses you. You don't get to choose it. And it's up to you whether you're going to take that and run with it or pass it on to somebody else or drop it. All right. That's just my take on that. Ev, how you feel about the face of the league, man?
Fascinating conversation that face of the league comes up, and of course, I'm seeing the Jordan comparisons thrown in the conversation. I think one of what you just said really drove home a point to me is that you don't get to choose to be face of the league. It chooses you. I think back to LeBron's career, and I give LeBron a ton of credit for walking a straight and narrow path now for 21, 22 years, even more when you count his high school, being scandal proof, keeping a clean record and whatnot, and accomplishing all that he's accomplished. But yeah, he was on Slam Magazine and the King James and all that and whatnot. But if he wouldn't have come out and done the work, he wouldn't have gotten the accolades that he got. So ultimately, it's about doing the work and doing the work to the best of your ability at every stage of your career. So when I hear folks say they don't want to be the face of the league, to me, that sounds to me like you don't want to do whatever it takes to be the best at your craft, because none of this comes unless you're doing everything that it takes to be the absolute best at your craft and not leaving any stone unturned, not having that killer mentality of I'm going out here every night to put on a show and to do my absolute best to bring home victories for my team. So that's what we remember when we think about, the Michael Jordan and the bar that was set. He came out every single night, and he did it. That's what we remember about LeBron. Even if he didn't get all the victories that he got, all the championships that he got, you don't go to 10 straight finals individually without
Mm.
giving everything you have to your craft, right? So face of the league stuff, it starts off with what you do with your craft. And so when I hear young players say they don't want that especially where we're, where all the conversation around where the league is at from a popularity standpoint, that bothers me a little bit because it's all about your craft at the end of the day. And we want to see that player that is doing absolutely everything they can to maximize their craft. That's why we love Kobe so much. We know about the 12 hours in the gym every day, to maximize his craft. So that's my take.
Go ahead, Lou.
I'm glad you brought up Kobe because I was gonna say we went from Jordan to LeBron, and definitely glossed over Kobe being Bryant, which himself at some point was the face. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Evan, you touched on a great point, right? Doing the work, and being that guy. As men, we've grown up, whether it's in sports or in other aspects of life. When you're the one, you never have to say it. Everybody says it for you. So it goes to the point what you guys are saying. You don't come in and say, I'm the face of the league. Uh, what you do on the court then validates that. That what you do on the court then is what elevates you to that point. We've talked about it. I mean, conversation has been, Steph being face of the league and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, is what you do on the court. So for anybody who feels like, oh, yo, I don't want to be the face of the league based on the criticism and so on and so forth that comes with it, it just kind of shows the direction that the league is going and why there's a lack of popularity in it. There has to be a certain love for the game. There has to certain be a love for the competition and wanting to be the best. You don't say I'm the GOAT. You know what I mean? You're deemed to go based on, again, what you've done on the court. So I hope that notion changes. LeBron didn't come in and saying what he said. I don't think helps the conversation. I think it kind of fuels what these youngins are thinking, just like we've talked about with other stuff, whether it's with All Star and so on and so forth. Because I think for him, as an elder statesman, somebody who's been the face of the league, you didn't become you didn't choose to be the face of the league, right? And realistically, you wanted to be the face of the league. So to now then kind of say what you're saying now is it's cool for sound bites, but you've always loved being at that forefront. You've always had that love having that limelight. And you know, what I mean, at the end of the day, you put it, you've laid it down on the court every single time, and this is where it's brought you. So I hope that narrative changes, and that guys like Ant, Ja, and so on, they can move from that mindset and really just do what they need to do on the court to make
Well,
to make that statement in terms of being the face of the league, something that you aspire to.
I'll say this. I think also too we're in a little different transition than we've been in a couple years, and then we got to wrap up after this. Is that after Jordan we had Kobe? When Kobe was sunsetting, we had LeBron. Right now, we got Steph, KD, LeBron during their twilight years, and we have a whole batch of young fellas, right, who are coming in. And I think what's happening is that the ones who are further ahead, who should be the face of the league, which I think they're going to groom Tatum, but I don't think that's who they want to be the face of the league because he doesn't have the tenacity or the charisma as a Ant or as a Ja, right? He has the skill set, he has the pedigree, but he doesn't have the charisma, the cachet as like an Ant or a Ja. And the league is used to somebody with the tenacity of an Ant and a Ja being the face of the league, along with the pedigree that Tatum has as well too. But it's an interesting conversation nonetheless, though. Nonetheless, it's a great barbershop conversation to see how things have changed and the conversation around being the face of the league is happening right now. So, but guys, Pod Mama's being real annoying right now, getting on my nerves. So before I spew any more Lakers slander and how they're going to suck and lose their next 5 out of 6, we're going to say goodbye, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to check us
one more
out.
thing. One more thing before we go.
Oh, what are we doing?
Happy belated birthday to you, my brother.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate
Happy
that. Man.
birthday.
Thank you.
Man. Happy to
Appreciate
do
it,
this
man.
with
Yes,
you.
sir.
Many,
Yes,
many
sir.
more,
Yes,
my boy.
sir.
Thank you, man.
You
Thank
already
you for
know.
recognizing
Big
my
up.
birthday, Evan and Lou, except for Christian, because every year he skips it out. But it is what it is.
All
We
right,
hate
wrap
each other.
up.
We hate each other. See? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. As always, check us out on our socials. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, y'all.
Happy birthday, Hans.
What's up, guys? Thank you for listening to the 3on3 podcast. Please be sure to give the episode a thumbs up if you loved it. Hit that subscribe button, and last but not least, hit that bell so that way you're notified every time we drop a new episode. Hit us up on our social media, guys. You can find us at the 3on3 podcast on IG and Twitter. If you want to give us any ideas or suggestions, shoot us an email at the 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.